Mom texted, "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight." I said, "No problem." A week later at Christmas, I saw their post rich gifts balloons, all for my sister's kids. My girl whispered, "They forgot me again, didn't they?" I just quietly did this. By 9:00 a.m., Dad was banging on my door, red-faced, screaming. I wasn't expecting much, just a simple party with cake, maybe a little pizza. My daughter Emma was turning 7, and like every year I planned something small, but sweet. She's never been the kind of kid to ask for much. She just wanted her grandparents there, my parents. Her eyes lit up when she talked about them, always hoping they'd show up the way they did for my sister's kids, decked out with balloons, loud laughter, and arms full of gifts. But 4 days before her birthday, I got the text. "We're skipping Emma's party. Things are tight this month. Love you." No call, no apology, just that. I stared at the screen for a long time before I replied with a simple "no problem." I didn't want to make a scene. I figured maybe they really were struggling. The economy's been hard on everyone. But something about the way they worded it, like skipping her birthday, was just crossing off an item on a grocery list, ate at me. Emma didn't cry when I told her they wouldn't be coming. She just looked at the ground and said, "Maybe they'll come next year." I smiled and nodded, but I already knew they wouldn't. Her birthday came and went. We had a great time, just the two of us. I even invited a couple of her school friends, and we did a little unicorn-themed picnic in the park. She was happy, or at least she pretended to be. And then a week later, Christmas Eve rolled in. We didn't get an invitation, no phone call, no message, nothing. Emma waited by the window that morning in her red pajamas, clutching the drawing she made for Grandpa and Grandma. She even drew their house with hearts above it. Around noon, I gently told her we probably wouldn't be going this year. She just sat down very quiet. Then she whispered it. "They forgot me again, didn't they?" That was it. No tears. Just that one sentence. My stomach twisted. I opened Facebook later that day, shouldn't have, but I did. And there were photos from my parents' house. Huge Christmas tree mountain of presents. My sister's boys tearing into gifts with wild smiles, streamers, balloon arches, a hired Santa. My mom even commented, "So blessed to be with our favorite little ones this year." Favorite. Something cracked inside me that night. I stayed up thinking about every time I'd paid their utilities, when they said they were short, every time I helped them fix their car, every time I gave them money for emergencies that never seemed to affect anyone but me. I didn't say a word, just quietly packed up the Christmas decorations and went to bed. But by 9:00 a.m., the next morning, Dad was banging on my door, red-faced, yelling loud enough to wake the whole building. I opened it slowly. He shoved his phone in my face. "You really think it's okay to embarrass us like that? Your little post. What the hell is wrong with you?" I hadn't posted anything, not a word, but someone had, and it had gone viral in the family group chat. My sister had screenshotted the balloon photo and wrote under it, "This is what skipping Emma's birthday and Christmas looks like. Hope you're proud." That was the start, and things only got messier from there. Dad stormed into my apartment like he owned it, still waving his phone like it was a weapon. I shut the door behind him calmly. Emma was still asleep, or at least pretending to be. She was good at that lately. I didn't say a word as he went off about how ungrateful I was, how much they'd done for me, how I'd twisted the story to make them look bad. I let him run out of steam. Then I asked one question. "What did Emma get from you this year?" He stared at me, blinked, then said something about hard times, and you know how it is. I nodded and walked to the kitchen, made coffee, gave him none. That was the last time he set foot in my home. After he left furious, I sat on the couch and texted my sister, "Thank you." She replied right away, "I've had enough of their crap too." That made two of us. It didn't take long for the rest of the family to pile on. My Aunt Cheryl sent me a novel-length message about how disappointed she was in me for causing division. My cousin Brittany chimed in too, calling me dramatic and selfish. Said I was ruining Christmas with my attitude. I just blocked them both. Mom didn't say anything directly, not a word, but she liked one of Brittany's posts that said, "Some people love playing victim when they're just bitter. They're not the favorite." That hurt more than I expected. I was still paying their phone plan, their car insurance, half their rent. I hadn't told anyone, not even my sister, but I had picked up a second remote job this year, just to make ends meet after Emma's dad stopped paying child support. And I still made sure my parents didn't go without. So I started small. I removed my name from their utility account. They noticed that within a week. Mom texted asking if there was a mistake. I told her there wasn't. Then I paused their phone plan. That one got a call, or it would have if I hadn't already blocked the number. My sister called me that night. She said, "You know they're freaking out. Dad's blaming me now." I told her I wasn't trying to punish anyone. I was just done. I still remember what she said next. "You don't owe them anything. They made their choices." It was the first time someone said that to me. Things were quiet after that. No texts, no fake apologies, just silence. I focused on work, kept my head down. Emma and I started doing little projects together. She got into painting, and I let her turn the hallway into her own art gallery. I couldn't give her cousins or grandparents who treated her right, but I could give her color, attention, peace. Then in early March, something unexpected happened. I got an email from a company I'd applied to 9 months ago and forgotten about. They wanted to interview me for a remote creative lead role, almost triple what I was making now. Fully flexible, benefits, bonus structure. I thought it was a scam at first, but it wasn't. 2 weeks later, I had the job. That same day, I bought Emma a bike she'd circled in a catalog 2 years ago, and we spent the whole afternoon riding through the neighborhood. I watched her smile stretch wider than I'd seen it in a long time. And that night, I opened my emails again. 2 new ones, one from my dad, one from Aunt Cheryl. Both said the same thing in different words. They'd heard I got a promotion and wanted to talk. Of course they did. By April, I was earning more than I ever had in my life. Not just surviving, thriving. The job was demanding, but I loved it. It was like someone had finally opened a window in a room I didn't realize I'd been suffocating in. I had options now. Freedom. For the first time, I didn't have to check my bank app every time I filled up the tank or picked up groceries. I started spoiling Emma, nothing over the top, just enough to watch her glow. Swimming lessons, weekend art classes, the rollerblades she'd been eyeing at Target for a year. She was happier. I was happier. That's when they all started crawling back. Mom texted out of nowhere, Emma would love the fair this weekend. Maybe we could all go together. I stared at that message for a while. Emma hadn't received a birthday gift or a Christmas card or a single call. And now suddenly there was interest. I didn't respond. 2 days later, Dad sent a voice message. I didn't listen to it, just deleted it. The kicker came from my cousin Brittany, of all people. After publicly dragging me a few months ago, she messaged me on Instagram like we were old friends, said she was so proud of me and wanted to know how I made the leap, asked if I could look at her resume, said her job was soul-crushing and she needed an upgrade. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd said to me or about Emma. I left her on red. Then came Mother's Day. My sister invited us to brunch at her place, just her and the kids. No drama. Emma was excited to see her cousins, so I said yes. Halfway through pancakes, my sister asked if I'd talk to Mom. I just shook my head. She sighed. They're trying, you know. And I said too late. That same week, Emma got a letter in the mail, handwritten. I knew the handwriting instantly. My mom's cursive always slanted too far right. Inside was a card with glitter flowers and a note. We've missed you, sweet girl. Hope to see you soon. Love, Grandma and Grandpa. Tucked behind it, a $10 bill. Emma looked at it and asked if she could spend it on art supplies. I said sure. I didn't mention it, but something in me twisted when I saw that bill. Not because of the money, but because they really thought they could buy their way back in with $10 after 2 years of absence and disappointment. Over the next month, the messages picked up. Dad emailed me a list of repairs they needed for their house, said they'd always appreciated my help and hoped I could come through one last time. One last time like this was a war and I was their last soldier. I never replied. I was done financing people who would have let my daughter go through every birthday alone if it weren't for my sister. Then came Emma's school art show. Her teacher had called a week before and said Emma's work had been chosen for a special display. She was one of 3 students to be highlighted. I posted a few photos on Facebook, nothing flashy, just her, grinning next to her painting, which was this wild mix of gold and navy swirls. I captioned it, "So proud of my brilliant little artist." Within minutes, the likes rolled in, and then came the comments. Aunt Cheryl wrote, "Beautiful. You've raised such a sweet girl." Brittany commented, "Oh, she's growing up so fast. You're such a great mom. We've always known she was gifted. Hope we get to see her soon. Love you both." I didn't delete it. I didn't even hide it. I just replied, "She needed you at 7. She's 8 now. Try saying that to her face." It went quiet after that. But the real storm was just starting. Because by summer, I made a decision I was going to cut them off for good. Not just emotionally, financially. Every last tie. In July, I sat at my kitchen table with a spreadsheet open and a cup of coffee I'd reheated twice. I went line by line: car insurance, cell plans, the emergency credit card I'd added Mom 2 years ago. It was like untangling vines that had wrapped around my bank account for most of my adult life. By noon, I'd shut it all down. I canceled every payment, every automatic transfer, every shared account. I sent no warnings, just receipts. I screenshotted the cancellations and forwarded them to my mom with 2 words, "All done." No reply. For a while, it was blissfully silent. I didn't hear from anyone for almost 3 weeks. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. Is this Carol? Yeah, who's this? This is Jason. I work at Chafee Auto. Your parents are here trying to get a tow, but their membership's inactive. They said you usually handle it. I almost laughed. They'll have to figure it out, I said, and hung up. The next day, my mom finally cracked. She emailed me a long, rambling message about how embarrassing it was to be stranded on the side of the road, how they didn't know the membership was under my name, how a heads up would have been nice. I stared at the blinking cursor for a while before I typed back, Emma spent Christmas alone. I think we're even. Then I hit send. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. One night in late August, Emma and I were watching a movie on the couch. She was curled up in a blanket, halfway asleep. I got up to get her some water, and that's when I saw the headlights sweep across our front window, then the doorbell. I looked through the peephole and froze. It was my parents. And they weren't alone. Behind them stood Aunt Cheryl and Brittany. All three of them, dressed up like they were going to dinner, standing on my doorstep like they'd just dropped by for tea. I opened the door just enough to step out. Before I could speak, Aunt Cheryl started in. Said they were worried. Said they didn't recognize me anymore. That I used to be so kind, so family-oriented. Brittany smirked. She's rich now. Rich people don't need family. Mom stayed quiet, just stood there with her purse clutched like it was a shield. I told them to leave. Cheryl scoffed. Really? After everything we've done? I stared at her. You mean like ditching my kid on her birthday, or calling me dramatic for expecting basic decency? That's when Brittany snapped. You're being cruel. Your parents are old. They're struggling. And they're not my responsibility. I started to close the door, and Cheryl lunged forward and grabbed it. You'll regret this. You'll end up bitter and alone, just like your father said. And then Emma's voice behind me, I'm not alone. I have my mom. They all went silent. I turned, and there she was, holding her stuffed unicorn and looking directly at them. Mom tried to smile. Hi, sweetheart. Emma just stepped back inside. I closed the door without another word. A week later, my sister called me. She was crying. Said our parents had gone around telling the rest of the family that I'd abandoned them, that I'd cut off their phones and left them without food or transportation, that I was turning Emma against them. It didn't take long for the vultures to circle. Uncles, cousins, even people I hadn't spoken to in years, started messaging me, guilt-tripping, accusing. One even hinted I should be grateful I was raised at all. But that wasn't the unexpected part. The twist came a month later when I found out my dad had taken out a loan using my name, and I didn't even know it until the debt collector started calling. The first call came during a meeting. Unknown number. I let it go. Then another. By the third, I got a voicemail. Hi, this is Michelle from Stonebrook Financial Recovery. We're calling regarding a loan under Carol R. Johnson. I froze. I hadn't taken out a loan. I called back. She confirmed everything, $8,000 taken out 6 months ago. My name, my social, but not my address. It was my parents' house, my dad's phone. She emailed the application. I opened it. The signature wasn't mine. I sat there staring at a document that felt like betrayal spelled out in cheap ballpoint pen. My own father had taken out a loan in my name. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just printed it, walked into the police station the next morning and filed a report. Yes, I pressed charges. I'd spent years being the bank, the babysitter, the family scapegoat. Enough was enough. The calls started immediately. My uncle's cousins I hadn't heard from in years, all saying I was ruining the family, that I was sending Dad to jail over a mistake. My sister, though, she wasn't shocked, said Dad had tried the same thing with her once. She said no, I didn't get the chance. Then came the letter from Dad, 1 page. No apology, just, you didn't need the money. We did. We're family. That was the last thing he ever wrote to me. I changed my email signature the next day, dropped the last name, just used a version of Emma's. It felt clean. Right. Then, out of nowhere, a wedding invite arrived. Brittany's. Glittery envelope, fake handwriting, and a note. Family will be seated together. Hope there's no tension. Hearts, hearts. I laughed out loud. That was the moment I decided I was done pretending any of them were still family. I never RSVP'd to the wedding. Didn't text, didn't explain, just threw the invite out and moved on. I knew what it was. Bait. The day Brittany got married, Emma and I hiked a quiet trail outside town. She packed snacks and told me about a story she was writing about a girl and her mom fighting monsters together. I didn't say it, but I knew exactly what she meant. That night my sister called, said my name came up at the reception. Dad had told everyone I'd turned Emma against them, that I'd always been dramatic. I didn't bother defending myself. The next morning, I sent one message to the family chat. We're done. Please don't contact me or Emma again. Wishing you peace, but we won't be part of this family anymore. Most replies were angry. Some were guilt trips. One cousin said I was disrespecting blood. But my sister just texted, I understand. Love you always. That was all I needed. By winter, Emma and I had a new rhythm. I took her to see the ocean for the first time. We built our own holidays, simple, peaceful hours. One night, she hung a new ornament on the tree, a gold unicorn. I asked why. She smiled and said, because it's ours now, just us. I pulled her close, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free.